Located in the southern part of the Manipur Valley, Loktak is the largest natural freshwater lake in the Indian subcontinent. Slightly oval in shape, the lake has axis running north to south with maximum length of 26 kilometers and a width of 13 kilometers. It has no definite shoreline and its extent and depth varies with the seasons. Loktak, as we see today, has a surface area of about 289 square kilometers at an elevation of about 769 meters above the mean sea level. The lake has a maximum depth of about 5 meters, while the mean depth is approximately 2 meters. About 36 feeder streams flowing from the central valley and the western catchment hills drain into the lake. As many as 14 large and small islands are present in the Loktak lake. Of these islands, some of the thickly populated ones are Thanga, Ithing and Karang. Loktak comprises of about 20 large and small sub-basins, of which Takmu, Khulakpat, Biraharipat, Lapupat, and Ungamel are fairly large. During the rainy season, these sub-basins become contiguous and merge under a large sheet of water. These could be distinguished separately during the dry season. The natural ecosystem of the lake influences the overall environment of the Manipur Valley. The healthy nature of the lake influences a healthy climate in the valley. The people in general revere the lake as the mother, the provider of life and health. The age-old folklore and the cultural traditions attached to the Loktak is an important aspect of the Manipuri culture. Any study of the culture of Manipur would be incomplete without reflecting on the rich cultural heritage of the Loktak.
A characteristic feature of the lake is the floating mats of vegetation locally called phumdi. The phumdi occur in different sizes and vary in thickness from a few centimeters to about 2 meters. 1/5 of the phumdi mass floats above the water and 4/5 of it is underwater. They are a heterogeneous mass of soil, vegetation, and organic matter, forming by itself a living ecosystem. The high proportion of buoyant plant tissue in the composition of the phum keeps it afloat. At the average, a 1 meter thick phumdi can bear the weight of human beings and animals. The phumdi is used for different purposes. One of its use is the indigenous method of fum fishing. The fumdi are held in place with the help of bamboo poles and can be towed to any convenient place when necessary to do so. An interesting feature in the lake is the presence of floating huts constructed on the fumdi. The fumdi is conveniently used for constructing floating huts with light materials like bamboo and reed. Several families live in these huts. A 1 to 2 meter thick fumdi mass measuring about 15 by 15 square meter can support a hut for a family of 4 or 5 members. In the earlier days, these floating huts were often swept from one part of the lake to the other whenever strong winds occur in the lake. Today, with increased human activities, a considerable number of the huts have almost become permanent at fixed spots by using rocks and other heavy material as anchor. The character of the lake influences the lifestyle of the people living here on the floating huts. Fishing is the main source of livelihood for the lake dwellers. They also collect a variety of fodders and edible plants from the lake.
The largest formation of the Pumdi occur in the Kaibul Lamjau area in the southern part of the lake. A number of wild animals like hawk deer, wild boar find refuge here. This is also home to the elegant Sangai, the brow-antlered deer of Manipur, one of the rarest and most endangered animals in the whole world. The Sangai was reported to be extinct in 1951. A survey conducted by the International Union for Conservation of Nature in 1953 discovered a few survivors in the Pumdis at Kaibul Lamjau. In a major effort to conserve the Sangai and its floating habitat, an approximate 40 square kilometers of the Kaibul Lamjau area was declared as a wildlife national park in 1977. Subsequently, the number of deer increased from 76 in 1986 to 147 in 1997. The national park is unique in being the only floating wildlife reserve in the world.
The rich biodiversity of the lake is evident from the numerous plants and animals, including a number of rare and endangered species. There are around 230 water plant species in the lake area. Some varieties like the water chestnut, arrowhead, ginger lily, sill ginger, and Urile forex are popularly consumed by the local people. A variety of aquatic, semi-aquatic, and terrestrial plants also thrive on the Phumdi. The dominant ones are grasses and sages, of which varieties like humdang, ising kambong, imom, charot, tau, singwood, singnang are used as fodder and are also of commercial importance.
Through the centuries, Loktak has been the winter resort of thousands of birds that migrate from different parts of the northern hemisphere beyond the Himalayas. They spend their winter in the lake from October to March every year. Of the 116 species of resident and migratory birds found in the lake, 21 species of waterfowl are migratory, some of which are the gadwall, shoveler, grebe, wagtail, pintail, pochard, and coot. Loktak has a rich resource of fish fauna, numbering around 64 species. Fish is the staple diet for the people in the valley. Loktak produces the major chunk of the fish requirement of the state. Traditionally, the popular form of fishing in the lake is the pum namba. This is a method of indigenous fishing using culture fishery with the help of pum. In the early part of winter, large circular pums are prepared, within which aquatic vegetation are kept floating. Fishes assemble underneath this vegetation due to the higher temperature and availability of food. Here, the fishes are cultured. Other than the fish resource, the people in the lake area depend on the multi-utility of the lake for their sustenance. The lake provides a convenient waterway for navigation by canoe, for domestic travel, and to fetch fodder and edible plants. The raw, untreated water of the lake is used for drinking and other domestic purposes by the people living in and around the lake. The enormous socio-economic importance of the Loktak integrates it into an indispensable lifeline for the people of Manipur.
In the early 70s, the government came up with a plan of setting up a major multi-purpose hydroelectric power project in Manipur by utilizing the waters of Loktak. The plan had a vision of bringing about rapid development in the state by providing electricity. Initiated by the Central Ministry of Irrigation and Power in 1971, the Loktak Hydro Project was executed by the National Hydroelectric Power Corporation and was commissioned in 1984. 3 turbines of the capacity of 35 megawatt each generate 105 megawatt of electricity, of which about 29% is allocated to Manipur. The officer in charge of the powerhouse says,
the power produced from this powerhouse is being supplied to all the 7 states of northeastern region. The share of Manipur is 28.9%, which includes 12% free power in lieu of royalty for the state. Balance power is being supplied to the other state. The capacity of the water at Loktak Lake is 450 million units, and this powerhouse has achieved the target all the years.
the used water of the Hydel project is let out into the Loktak River, which joins the Barak to flow into the plains of Assam. In addition to power generation, the Loktak multipurpose project has provision for irrigating 1 lakh acre of agriculturable land annually to encourage multiple cropping in the state.
To achieve these objectives, a barrage was constructed across the Manipur River at Ithai village. This aims at having sufficient water volume in the Loktak basin for the Hydel project. The Ithai barrage impounds water of the Manipur River and causes a backflow of the water into the Loktak lake through the Khordak channel, which directly links the Manipur River with the lake. A little further downstream near the Ithai barrage, the Manipur River is joined by the Khuga River, which is again directly linked to the Loktak by the Ungamel channel. The backflow of water along this channel has a direct impact on Kaibul Lamjao. In earlier days, water from the Manipur River used to drain into the Loktak through these channels during the rainy season. In winter, water from the lake drained out to the Manipur River again through these channels, thus allowing flow of water both ways. Today, the passage is just one way. Ithai barrage maintains a constant high water level to provide enough water for the Hydel project and the Loktak lift irrigation. After the commissioning of the project, the lake was virtually converted into a reservoir to contain the required water for the project. The natural process of fluctuation in the water level of the lake has been almost stopped.
Despite the advantages of the Loktak multi-purpose project, the consequent impact has been enormous. The immediate and major impact is the inundation of agricultural and habitation lands in the periphery of the lake. The public claim above 50,000 hectares of agricultural lands were lost. The government, however, estimate a lower figure.
The affected farmer says,
This place, where I am now, was once my paddy field. After the dam came up, I have not produced anything from here. I used to harvest at least 200 sackful of paddy each year.
the total agricultural lands in the entire Manipur Valley is estimated to be about 225,000 hectares. Out of this, the loss of 50,000 hectares is a matter of serious concern. The loss of these fertile lands has serious effect on the food production. The state, which was self-sufficient in food produce, has now to depend heavily on food from outside. The impact is also hard on the peasants, who are uprooted from their traditional living. In short, the socio-economic life of Manipur is seriously disturbed. The secretary of the Loktak affected areas says,
private property protection habits the
government have not given protection to private properties, and no steps have been taken to provide alternative means of livelihood for our survival. We are fighting legally in court.
Loktak affected areas action committee na koina fight tawri.
In Chairel village, famous for Chairel pottery, a traditional potter says,
Singna tomaji kogi poino loi bedagina lamta phausi ko chajibu phausi leibak pham nungai ramya.
from the end of December to April, we used to get good clay from the nearby fields. Now we hardly get enough clay because the fields are frequently inundated. We have almost stopped work today because now we get no materials.
In the last 1 decade, we have seen recurrence of floods in the Manipur Valley. As Loktak contains constant high water, the lake is not ready to receive excessive volume of water carried by rivers draining directly or indirectly into the lake. Consequently, flood occurrence in the upper catchment areas increases. Massive accumulation of Fumdi mass in the lake is another feature of the impact of the project. Presently, the Fumdi occupies 2/3 of the lake's surface. According to the latest survey, about 200 square kilometer of the lake's surface area is covered by Fumdi. In the earlier days, the process of clearing excessive Fumdi from the lake was natural. The Fumdi were carried along by water current through the Kordak and the Ungamel channel into the Manipur River in winter. The process was stopped when the outflow of Phumdi was blocked by the barrage. These encouraged the congregation of Phumdi, which caused the increase of water level in the lake, along with other related problems. Excessive accumulation of Phumdi also encourages more construction of huts, conversion of floating hutments into permanent dwellings, and rise of human population growth inside the lake. These cause serious impact on the ecology of the lake.
It is reported that a few species of aquatic plants of food and commercial importance had almost disappeared from the Loktak. The migratory fishes like pingba, tharak, ngaton, khabak used to migrate from the Chindwin Irrawaddy river system upstream along the Manipur river for breeding in the Loktak and other shallow lakes in the valley, and they formed a high percentage of the fish population in the state. Today, with the construction of the barrage, their migratory route is blocked, causing heavy loss to the state's natural fish resource. Not only that, it is reported that the constant high water of the lake had disturbed the breeding ground of the indigenous fish varieties. The high water of the lake had also caused changes in the traditional method of fishing. The fishermen have now adopted new methods of catching fish. They have to purchase a variety of nets to capture fish, and this adds to their economic burden.
Ecological change in the lake has also discouraged the visit of migratory waterfowl in the Loktak and the adjoining wetland during winter. Most waterfowl favor shallow water to feed, and in the absence of this, their habitat is disturbed. The population of these migratory birds had declined drastically during the past decade due to loss of favorable condition in the lake and by increased human activities. Many important and rare species of birds like the hooded crane, sarus crane, large whistling teal, and the blossom-headed parakeet had become extinct in Manipur due to loss of habitat.
Another serious dimension we see here is the degeneration of the floating habitat of the Sangai in Kaibul Lamjau. The changing ecology of the Sangai habitat is posing a threat to the survival of the deer. The seasonal floating and sinking of the Phumdi in the national park, which play an important role in the nutrient cycle of the vegetation, was curtailed due to the high water level. In the lean season, the Phumdi used to settle to the lake bottom, their roots sucking nutrient from the soil. When rain started filling the lake basin, the Phumdi become afloat due to high buoyancy. The annual cycle has now come to a stop, and the Pumdi remain floating throughout the year. The loss of the Sangai's natural habitat would be the most unfortunate thing to happen. Ashni Kumar, an NGO activist, says,
The first problem facing Kaibulamjau National Park is the Ithai Barrage. The second problem is the lack of systematic long-term policy from the related authorities. This is highly necessary, otherwise I feel the habitat of Sangai will be lost.
The villagers in the lake area are finding much difficulty in cattle rearing due to extensive inundation of grazing grounds.
Another major problem faced by the lake is the accelerated rate of siltation. Much of the silt deposited in the Loktak are carried by seasonal rivers draining directly into the lake. Deforestation in the catchment areas, shifting cultivation, and loss of topsoil supplement to the silt lot carried by these rivers. The continuous deposit of silt gradually decreased the depth of the lake, lessening its storage capacity. The rising of the level of the lake bed, causing the water to spread and spill over, would eventually inundate the peripheral lands. The natural outlet of the silt-laden water from the Loktak to the Manipur River through the Kordak and the Ungamel channel was blocked by the barrage, increasing the rate of siltation in the lake. The change in the size of the lake after the construction of the Ithai barrage is clearly evident from the maps here.
Loktak is also a dumping ground for all kinds of waste and debris, carried by almost all the rivers and streams draining directly or indirectly into the lake. Locals living in and around the lake dump domestic waste into the lake. This is becoming a problem to the health of the lake. The use of chemicals by farmers in the surrounding paddy fields is another major source for polluting the lake water. It is reported Loktak suffers from a high rate of eutrophication. One of the reasons is the nutrient loading in the lake due to the topsoil in the silt, fertilizers, insecticides, and sewage drains from the human settlement in and around the lake. If the accelerating rate of eutrophication remains unchecked, it is feared Loktak could degenerate rapidly.
To check the fast deteriorating condition of the lake, the Loktak Development Authority, LDA, was established in the year 1987. The LDA proposed to bring about improvement of the lake along with development in the field of fisheries, agriculture, tourism, afforestation in consultation with the concerned state departments. LDA had purchased heavy machineries to implement its activities. One of its priority is to create more storage water in the lake. As a part of its program, LDA had started dredging of the lake and clearance of the excessive pundi since 1993. It is observed that the dredging of the lake will be meaningless if there is no proper planning for the disposal of the dredged material. The use of these dredged material for the construction of dike and causeways is not encouraging, as it would have side effects like changes to lake shoreline, shrinkage of lake area, and hydrological problems.
As for instance, the construction of link road from Taubul to Mayang Imphal, cutting across the lake water surface from its western to its eastern shoreline, is highly detrimental to the health of the lake because it is obstructing the water flow and encouraging human encroachment. Priority has to be given to the identification of the problems faced by the lake through a proper research and monitoring towards the scientific management of the lake.
Now it is quite clear, when the decision of launching the Loktak Hydel project was taken up, the objective was producing electricity with a dream of rapid progress and development of the region, without a proper assessment of the environmental and the socio-economic side effect of such a major project. A hydropower project should not be seen merely as a way of producing more electricity. Its effect upon the local environment and the livelihood of the local community must be included in any balance sheet. The abandonment of a hydropower project because it will disturb a rare ecological system would be a measure of progress, not a setback to development. If a proper environmental impact assessment was made before the launching of the Loktak Hydel project, alternative sources of producing electricity could have been considered, or certain preventive measures could have been taken up to avoid the deterioration of the lake. Necessary precautions should be taken by LDA while undertaking developmental programs like physical land modification, dumping of solid waste material, construction of dike, causeway, and link roads, so that the mistakes committed at the time of launching the Hydel project are not repeated.
Owing to the lack of concrete rehabilitation programs of the affected people, pressure is mounting on the environment of the lake. The stark evidence of this pressure is a recent practice of intensifying cultivation of paddy on the Pundi. This form of agriculture is by slashing the vegetation growing on the Pundi. From the ecological viewpoint, the practice is not encouraging. The vegetation matter, including paddy stalks, would increase year after year and the Pumdi would settle at the lake bed. It is also reported the farmers here use fertilizers and insecticides, creating more complications.
In recent years, there has been a significant increase of numerous fish culture ponds, covering almost the entire open water surface of the lake. The practice is not encouraging, as the uncontrolled increase of these ponds could lead to the deterioration of the lake. Those farmers who have lost their agricultural lands are now trying to convert the land into fish farms in the lake area. The spreading of these farms is a matter of concern, as it would encourage changes to the lake ecosystem.
The number of hutments on the floating Pumdi inside the lake had multiplied recently. Those people who had lost their agricultural lands due to inundation now seek an alternative livelihood by fishing. And this would be one reason for the increase. The mass increase of such hutments and more people in the lake would be harmful to the lake. It is recognized that population growth, poverty, and environmental degradation are inextricably related, and that none of these fundamental problems can be successfully addressed in isolation.
The problem of environmental degradation is directly related to deforestation, shifting cultivation, and consequent soil erosion in the catchment areas. Traditional shifting cultivators who once cut forests, grew crops, and then gave the forest time to recover, now have neither land enough nor time to let forests re-establish. Forests are being destroyed, often only to create poor farmlands that cannot support those who till it. Extending cultivation on the steep slopes is increasing soil erosion in the catchment areas.
When people destroy vegetation in order to get land, fodder, fuel, or timber, the soil is no longer protected. Rain creates surface runoff and soil erodes. The rate of deforestation in Manipur is alarming. Official records maintain that apart from a sparse, moderate forest cover, the state presently has only about 4% of dense forest cover left.
The denuded catchment causes siltation, and it is estimated that a huge annual silt lot of about 6 lakh ton is brought to the lake. In the face of this, it would be next to impossible to think of dredging the entire lake bed. The increased rate of siltation in the lake shoreline also encourages human encroachment by establishing settlements in these built-up areas.
It is now clear that an irreversible damage had been caused to the environment of the lake. The Loktak is aging fast, very fast. This is not natural aging, but is a forced phenomenon. The lake is facing the crisis of its life. We know that nature is bountiful, but it is also fragile and finely balanced. There are thresholds that cannot be crossed without endangering the basic integrity of the system. The lake that provides life to humans and other biological species is undergoing changes for the worse. Its ecology has been disturbed. Humans and the wildlife had been displaced. If no proper medication is administered in time, Loktak would perish. Professor Hijam Tombi of Manipur University says,
the major factors for the endangering of this Loktak lake is the heavy rate of siltation, then high degree of eutrophication, and the various human activities like the encroachment in the peripheral areas. Unless we take up special care, special measures to stop all these activities, the lake will be dying very shortly after.
the satisfaction of human needs and aspiration is a major objective of development. We need electric power to strengthen the progress of development. But the development must be a sustainable one and not at the cost of our precious freshwater resource.
In the beginning of this century, it was reported there were nearly 500 wetlands in the Manipur Valley, covering a large portion of its area. Today, a majority of the wetlands had degraded and almost disappeared. In urban Imphal, wetlands like the Lamphel Pat, which was once famous as the habitat of the now near extinct Kombirei flower, is lost. It has been reclaimed for building up a satellite township. In all probability, Loktak would face the same consequence. In a major effort to conserve the lake, Loktak has been designated as a wetland of international importance under the Ramsar Convention in 1990, based on its unique biodiversity and socio-economic importance. The lake is also one of the important wetlands selected for conservation and management purposes under the National Wetlands Program.
Loktak has been placed in the Montreux record, comprising of a list of internationally important wetlands that had undergone or are undergoing significant changes in their ecological character. The conservation and management of the Loktak may not be that easy. The damage done to the lake are many and acute. Moreover, there are several conflicting demands on the lake from different sources.
As for instance, the Loktak hydroelectric power project regards it as a large tank for storage of sufficient water to meet the requirements of the Hydel project. The Forest Department is concerned of conserving the habitat of the Sangai and other wildlife in the Kaibulamjau National Park. The Fishery Department gives emphasis on fish culture. Some other departments are interested in construction of link road, dike, causeway, development of tourism, and land settlements. Unfortunately, these different interests are not compatible to each other.
We are yet to see sincere efforts to coordinate the different conflicting interests and demands from the lake. Dr. Shamananda, wetlands expert, says,
We should not look at the problems of Loktak Lake as of natural aging alone. The ecology of the lake has been largely affected by its conversion into a reservoir. Ecosystem restorative and rehabilitative items should therefore be a priority in the management program. This demands an approach which is largely and essentially research-based, holistic, and comprehensive, and again, strongly backed by an appropriate legislation. And all our efforts should go essentially environment-oriented and not development-oriented. Lack of this concept can make any management program another mistake which will cost us very heavily.
Ri